So this morning's Haftarah calls on us to repent, to do teshuvah, in the words of Isaiah. And it's a message about justice, turning, and making our lives better for ourselves and for the world. Isaiah challenges us to imagine what God truly demands of us as we go forward into the new year. And hint, hint, it's not your fast. This year I learned from one of my teachers, Rabbi Jenny, what God is demanding of her as it relates to teshuvah work. Namely, to close the door on blame. I was so moved by her teaching, particularly given the times we're living in, that I wanted to share it with you today. What does it mean to close the door on blame? Shefa teaches that when the impulse to blame arises, and it does quite often, she remembers that she vowed not to go through that door. And always, another door opens. The door of uncertainty, the door of curiosity, the door of compassion, the door of wider vision, the door of creativity. Who among us has not had the urge to lay blame as of late? Whether we're discussing the war with Hamas or the political election in our own country, it's easy to find ourselves blaming one side or another, not to mention the countless ways we lay blame at our own doors and the people we love most. We're continually beckoned to step through a door of blame. Rabbi Jenny teaches that when the urge to blame arises, this is the moment to remember the door is closed. When we blame, she explains, we invite in resistance rather than compassion. We further the argument, entering into the illusion of winning, of being right. And yet we lose connection. We damage relationships. As all our energy goes into what we are against, we inadvertently alienate and further trigger our supposed enemies and even some of our friends. When Shefa has the wherewithal to pause her reactivity and ask the question, where do I want to put my energy? The answer that comes is love. To paraphrase Isaiah in today's Haftarah, to feed the hungry, comfort those who are suffering, and cultivate more peace in this world. She wants to be inspired by prophets like Isaiah, whose imagination expand her own limits, stunted by the trauma of having lived through hard stuff. And here is perhaps the most amazing thing. When we get better at closing the door to blaming others, we also get better at closing the door to blaming ourselves. We get more comfortable with not knowing. It opens us up to the possibility of joy, humility, and even mystery. And this openness has the power to lift us up out of the habitual pattern of endless reactivity and free up our creativity for the sacred work of bringing more love into the world. In the event that blaming is no longer a spiritual challenge for you, you can substitute your own unhelpful habit. Close the door to shame. Close the door to cynicism. Close the door to helplessness. There are plenty of doors to close in service of opening up other doors that give us more life and more love. And I think that's part of what Isaiah is trying to teach us this morning.